Hey, hi guys, my name is Vipin and I'm part of the group. What we are going to do is we're planning to start a quick 5 by 5 minute byte for the entire ADF object. So there are a number of ADF things which exactly build together or bind together, and then exactly they make ADF entity. Then they make the ADF. Okay. As a part of this program, what we are going to do, we are going to focus on each and every aspect of the ADF, and that's where we are first starting with the ADF entity objects. So it's just a 5 minute thing which you are going to enjoy. Okay, so this is the agenda. So what is the entity object, table mapping, Java classes supporting the entity object. As a part of the next release, we are going to cover the validation framework of the entity objects. So what exactly the entity objects? So they are the first building block of any ADF application. So whenever you are going to start or create any ADF application, you are going to first create the entity object or think in terms of the entity objects. They are directly interact with the database. So what they do is they are first build blocks which is in touch with the database. So holding the connection of the different thing, but when exactly we are talking in terms of the rows, creation, updation, deletion, that is handled primarily by the ADF. Now there is a wizard in the JDeveloper by which you can easily create any ADF entity object, and this is one particular entity object is going to handle all the transactions pertaining to that table. Duplication is not otherwise mean. Oracle strictly say there should not be two entity objects for a table. What does that mean? You should not be creating, if you are having an employee entity object, we should not be having multiple entity object for a single table. So example entity object, there should be employee entity object, not like employee entity object or the some blah blah department entity object. One particular point of a time, that's your entity object. If you are saying I'm having an instance of entity object, that's when you are talking about a row in the database. So what exactly an entity object instance meaning is, it's a direct row in the database. So you are holding a complete value of the database. Key is very important feature. Entity object must have a key by which that it should be uniquely defined. So it is normally it is an ID. For like employee case, it is an employee ID or any other ID. Now exactly how the ADF model layer it fits in the ADF layer. So first is your database where your all the data resides, then your entity object. So whenever exactly you are going to talk or you are exactly going to fetch some record, or you want to do some changes, so that is where your entity object exactly going to create an instance of that row. That is your employee object instance. Then exactly it goes to your view layer that we are going to cover next, and then it will go to your application module. So where exactly your data will reside, or exactly which hold the entire transaction, that is the entity, that is your application module. But your entity object is the first source of truth which is directly interacting with your Oracle database. Now here is one entity object which I have created on the top of the table. So on the right hand side you see the employee table, on the left hand side you see the employee entity object. So if you see the directly, meaning that this is a direct mapping of your entity object attribute to your table columns. So if you see employee ID, there is employee ID, first name, so everything is there, perfectly there. And if you see a key symbol, what exactly this key symbol is, it simply means that this is the key attribute. That's how by this column each and every record is uniquely defined or uniquely identified. I mean, if I'm saying that employee ID number 2, that means it's someone who is exactly the employee. The 2 record cannot hold the same value of the employee ID 1. Now coming to the Java extension of the entity object. So any entity object can be extended with the 3 different Java classes: EOIMPL, EODefinition IMPL, EOCollection IMPL. EOIMPL is where you customize your getter and setters, where you can do any customization before save or after save. So let's say you want to do suppose you want to exactly call a service once you exactly do the save or after the save. So that's where exactly you can use the employee entity employee MPL. Addition of a sequence is one thing, and populating a variable different from a different table. So let's say you are having a department ID, and you want to hold the, or you want to have a department name in your entity object itself. That's also you can do. You can use the EOMPL class for this. It's a different ways for doing this EOXSL and all. Employee definition MPL is a singleton classes which represent the entire structure of your entity. So we have to remember that this is the class which is holding the entire structure, and it's a singleton. When you at a time, it's just one object is available. So this has been used to exactly adding an attribute and then time, setting in a property like the effective dated or something to change at a run point of time. Now come to the collection MPL. So that's where whatever the collection which is represent, or which is exactly present in the ADF or in the framework at a point of time when you are executing the entire project or entire transaction. So just to deal with the entire collection, if you want to write something like you want to clear the cache, if you want to hold the records which are not committed, so that's where exactly you use the employee collection MPL. The name says it handles the collection which is right now there in the cache or with the framework. This is just for my experience. If you say the employee UIMPL, so UIMPL class is very much used, and every entity or in every project of the ADF you have to exactly modify. Collection MPL it is 5%, definition MPL is 50%. I have seen in any project where we have changed it or we have explicitly added it up. Now what exactly entity object supports? It's been built on the top of the table by a wizard in the JDeveloper. It's capable of syncing with the database post first creation. So that's mean if you have created one more column in the table post creation of your entity objects, you can simply right click and sync it, and that column will present. So cascade delete support is also present, but that's come with the use of association. We're going to cover it later. Capable of handling the simultaneous access. So that's very important feature. That's mean if you are trying to exactly update the same record from two different users, okay, that time your entity supports come into the picture, and it won't allow the two users to delete that particular row at the same point of time. So it's all a log, and it doesn't allow the users, and if the other user tries, it will simply say, hey, this record has already been changed. That's how it exactly it do this thing. Okay, so that's all the quick bytes about ADF entity objects. Hope you like this session. I'm very much looking for the comments and how to make it better. Thank you.